Hi guys, today I wanted to take you through my PR Purgatory basket and share with you 6 products that I have decided not to keep in my collection. When I receive PR, a lot of it gets put in the donate bin right away if it's something that I know I just won't use. Of course, I try to turn down PR that I'm not going to use ahead of time, but sometimes brands just send things out of the blue. Most of the time, they just send things out of the blue. So when I receive something, I decide, do I want to try this? Do I want to pass it on? If I do decide to open and try it, it goes into the Purgatory bin. And I got that idea from Hannah Louise Poston. She's been doing videos like this on her channel for a very long time, and I love the approach because it allows me to still be really mindful about what PR I'm actually bringing into my collection and keeping and hopefully using up eventually. I don't really like to keep things that I don't like, even if it's something that I maybe could use to reference in a video at some point in the future. I don't really like to keep things around for that reason. I try to keep a collection of things that I truly love. So I so appreciate that these brands want to send me products to try out. I feel so lucky, but of course I can't keep all of them. So I wanted to share with you 6 products I've been testing out for the last few months that I've just decided are not for me, and some lessons that I've learned from these products, things that I've realized I probably just shouldn't bring into my collection at all because they're just not things I end up liking 99% of the time. So let's go ahead and get into it. So I want to start with some glowy primers. First up, we have the Milk Makeup Hydro Grip and Glow Primer. I don't like this at all, you guys. I really do not, and I've decided from here on out, no more primers. If they come in PR, I'm not going to open them. They're going to get donated or given away, and I'm not going to buy any more primers because I just don't want them anymore. I'm tired of them. In 2025, I want to use up the ones I have. Anyway, this primer, it definitely is glowy and it does have a little bit of that grippy texture, similar to the original Milk Hydro Grip Primer, which I do like, but lately I've been having issues with it kind of caking up as I apply it, and I had the same issue with the Grip and Glow. I think what I've figured out is that these primers just don't seem to interact well with sunscreens, at least not the ones I use. I did do a test of this on just one side of my face and not the other, and I found that both sides looked pretty much the same by the end of the day. It really didn't make a big difference as far as wear time. Didn't give that dramatic of a glow either, and several times I used it, it would really kind of cake up on my face, and my foundation just wouldn't lay nicely on top. So I just felt kind of meh about that, and this really solidified for me, like, just no more primers. And especially glowy primers. I just feel like the market is so saturated with glowy primers now. Another glowy primer is the Saie Glowy Super Gel. I have the shade Star Glow. And this is another thing, I kind of just regret opening this in the first place. I wish I just would have left it unopened and passed it on because this just really is not the product for me. Again, I've tested it on one half of my face and not the other, and I really didn't feel like it did anything for the side of my face that I used it on. To me, I just really prefer glow boosters or whatever you want to call them that have coverage to them, like the e.l.f., like the Charlotte Tilbury. I feel like that makes them a lot more versatile. Of course, you can also use this as a liquid highlighter. Again, I'm just not really a liquid highlighter person. If I'm going to use a liquid highlighter at all, I'm just going to use the e.l.f. Halo Glow because I already have a product that does that. So for me, this was just unnecessary. I know this is a really popular product, and if you're into glowy primers, you very well may like this, but I just learned this is not really meant for me, and so it's going to find a new home. Okay, sorry to bash Milk so much. I do have some Milk products that I like as well, but the Milk Hydro Grip Set and Refresh Spray is another thing I've been testing. This is an alcohol-free setting spray, and it's supposed to prolong the wear of your makeup and, of course, add hydration, refresh your makeup, as the name would imply. But I actually felt like this did the opposite of lock my makeup in place, if anything. Once again, like I always do with this type of product, I tried it on one half of my face and not the other several different times and with different products, and I actually feel like this broke down my makeup rather than kept it in place longer because the side without the setting spray always looked better. And the side with the setting spray, the eyeshadows would almost always crease. So this is just, again, maybe this is really meant more for somebody with super dry skin, but I would rather just use no setting spray than use this. So again, this is another thing that will go on to a new home. Another thing that's going on to a new home. I'm so sad about this one. This is the Jones Road What the Foundation. I know this got a ton of buzz when it first came out. I wear the shade Porcelain. It's a great shade match on me. This is a really almost like pudding-like foundation. You know, I think I would prefer just a classic pump bottle or squeeze tube or something, but the texture of this is so odd that I think it kind of makes sense they put it in a jar because sometimes you have to stir it up because it gets separated. They kind of warn you about that. Like, it actually comes with a little spatula that you can of course use to scoop it out. I usually just use a clean finger to scoop it out, but you can also use this to stir it up. Even though I don't love the format and the packaging, the look of this foundation is absolutely beautiful, and this is totally my kind of foundation on paper. They call it a moisture tint, so it's really supposed to be very hydrating. I think it's supposed to be really good for mature skin. It has a beautiful finish that's glowy, but at the same time, you know, not greasy looking. But my issue with this, and the deal breaker for me, is this is super gritty. It has these little kind of waxy, gritty particles that feel like they just didn't quite get melted and mixed into the formula. And so as I'm blending it into my skin, some of the little gritty pieces will kind of melt and then, you know, just go away as you warm them up. But most of them will just sit on top of the skin and it kind of just looks like your makeup is pilling. So to me, for an over $40 foundation, that's just not worth it. I have less expensive foundations that don't have that problem and that also give me a really beautiful hydrated finish. The LYS Triple Fix foundation I would say is a good alternative to the Jones Road if you want something that's similar amount of coverage, a similar finish. I would go with the LYS. It's also like half the price. I'm sad I couldn't make this work for me because the end result can be really beautiful, but it's just not worth the hassle, especially not for a $44 foundation. Another thing from Jones Road that'll be finding a new home, this is the Tinted face powder, but it's in the untinted shade. So this does come in some tinted versions, but look at this powder, guys. This is a stark white, like baking powder white. But my two favorite translucent setting powders are the Revolution and the e.l.f. Halo Glow. But these two are a little bit more off-white, like they're not just a pure white. Anytime I've tried a powder that's this kind of color, I just end up with a white cast or it just ends up looking kind of odd on my skin. And I have very fair skin, so I feel like there are very few people who could make this work, unless you have just the fairest skin ever or you use just the tiniest little bit of powder. But again, this is just not for me. And maybe I would like one of the tinted shades. It is a very finely milled powder. It feels like a nice texture. It's really just the shade that makes it unworkable for me. The last PR item I've decided not to keep in my collection is the Satchu Beauty Lip Liner Stain. So these have been all over, I feel like, short form social media. It's a lip stain with like a doe foot applicator, but they market it as a lip liner. You could also use this all over your lips as a lip stain. I have the shade Hazel, which I thought was going to be like a really pretty brown shade. This is what it looks like when you apply it. It looks really dark. It almost forms this like vinyl film on your lips, and you're supposed to let it sit for 10 to 15 minutes and then peel it off. I would rather not have to wait 15 minutes to get my lip liner on. You know, like I think I would prefer just a pencil lip liner. I think that's more my cup of tea. You kind of have to remember to apply this earlier on in your makeup routine, whereas usually lip liner is one of the last steps I do. So it's just one of those things that's not going to get used in my collection. The other thing was I just didn't really care for the shade of this on me. I feel like most lip stains, especially really long wearing ones, and this one did wear for a long time. I got a good 6 to 8 hours out of this lip stain, but I didn't like the way it looked on my lips. I felt like this kind of color sort of just was unflattering on my skin tone. So now that it's dry, I can probably peel it off. Yeah, see, so it peels off really easily. It's kind of fun. So there's what that color looks like. I just didn't find it very cute mixed with my natural lip color. It just kind of ended up looking like a sort of orangey reddish brown. And it is a cool, innovative idea for sure, but there's nothing about it that necessarily makes my makeup routine quicker or easier or anything. If anything, it kind of overcomplicates things for me. So again, just not the product for me. So those are all of the products that will be getting rehomed. I just do not feel like these fit into my makeup routine. And I have definitely learned some valuable lessons from these things. First of all, no more glowy primers. That's the #1 lesson. I'm not going to open any more. Even if it looks really cool and really amazing, like I just know myself, I don't use glowy primers, so I don't need to open them. Super stark white powders is another thing that I can skip in the future. So I hope that these mini reviews were helpful and helped you decide whether or not these products might make a good fit for you. Just because they didn't work for me doesn't mean they wouldn't work amazingly for somebody else. I hope this video was helpful. Thank you guys so much for hanging out with me today. If you had fun, be sure to give the video a thumbs up. Subscribe if you haven't already. I hope you all have an amazing rest of your day, and I'll talk to you very soon in my next video. Bye!